Yes, so this is a very important question for any human resource professional. And in my long, experience and journey, I have used multiple strategies and multiple tools to hire the right people for the organization. By and large, I would describe my learnings in 6 nuggets. Okay. So first, when you are looking for right talent for the organization, so first and foremost, uh, one has to invest time in deeper interviews in multiple rounds with multiple stakeholders by a senior candidate. Okay. It's not just one interview of 45 minutes. There has to be multiple rounds of interviews and deeper discussions with functional experts as well as with organization leaders. So whole organization has to invest time. Leaders have to invest time in the selection process. That's very, very important because it is possible that a candidate is putting his or her best foot forward, but they can't do it all the time. You know, they will be caught at some point in time. So they have to be intrinsically very strong to be consistent across the interview process. So that's one very important basic step, I would say, very basic step. But believe you me, many organizations miss even this basic step. The second is to ask tough questions at the beginning of the interview itself, in the process. Okay, very tough questions about their motivation, about their need, about their conflicts, about their failures, and what they have learned from those failures, how they have bounced back. So ask some very tough questions, which may make some people a little bit uncomfortable. Not offensive questions, but tough questions. That tells you the resilience of the person and the real character and the integrity of the person, through their answers. The third is obviously using sophisticated psychometric tools. I've been using psychometric tools for a very, very long time. Okay. That gives you a good fit of, especially a cultural fit with your organization. The personality traits that the person brings to table, you know what to expect, and you know what your organization is all about. And you know that whether these traits will fit into the organization culture or not. So I think that's very, very important. At very senior level, leadership levels, I would in fact recommend and do sometimes invest in almost a day-long leadership assessment centers. Okay. And there the candidate is taken through a very detailed assessment process through the assessment center, including psychometric, including interview, case studies, and so on and so forth. And that is when you really get to know the candidate in the true spirit, because the whole day they are investing in this process. Invariably, every single candidate who has gone through this process has come back and told me that they thoroughly enjoyed the process. It may seem daunting at the beginning, but they really and thoroughly enjoy the process because they learn so much about themselves in the whole process of this assessment. So I think it has been really mutually very rewarding whenever I have done this and whenever I have experienced it. Okay. And next is obviously very deeper reference checks from multiple sources. Is very critical, very critical. I would always suggest and strongly recommend that this should be done by any organization from last 2 or 3 organizations and from multiple sources, not only from bosses, but from subordinates and from colleagues. These are the 2 very important sources. That is when you get to know the person in totality. How the person was as a boss, how the person was as a colleague, not only just as a subordinate, because, you need a 360, almost a 360 view, if not 360, at least much more rounded view of the person. Okay. Lastly, understanding the personal situation of the candidate. Okay. After the candidate is selected, that handholding in the initial days is very important because many people have difficulties in personal life, special children, education, so on and so forth, old parents, need for medical help, and so on and so forth. If you are able to sensitively support, understand their needs, and try to support within the organizational framework in helping them and holding their hand while they are making their journey towards your company, transitioning to your company, it goes a long way in getting the right person with the right motivation and dedication to the company. So that's my take on how to go about scouting the talent and getting the right talent. The fundamental thing at junior levels and middle management level, that's when you really hone your skills, okay, is functional and technical expertise. You cannot escape, you cannot fluff your way up the organization hierarchy. You got to know your stuff, okay. So whatever is your technical expertise, whatever is your functional expertise, you need to really know your subject, and as you grow up in the hierarchy, it is taken for granted that you know your stuff, okay. So that weakness cannot be allowed by any individual, and they have to work hard, whether it's acquiring additional certifications, reading and studying extra, or doing whatever else, but making your foundation strong in your area, in your chosen area of expertise is very important, at the junior and middle level particularly, okay. Universal traits is desire to be successful, okay. That intrinsic achievement motivation, the desire to make an impact, desire to success, desire to contribute to a larger cause, not just for the self cause. I have seen almost all leaders in my life who are successful, who always thought of a larger cause of the organization or even societal cause, okay. And when you have this much larger objective beyond yourself, okay, that is a very important trait for successful people. That's what my observation has been all these years. Okay. The next is consistency at all levels. This is applicable at all levels. You have to be absolutely consistent in your career, in your track, in your performance. Okay, year after year, continuously. Whether you are in one organization or another organization, your consistency should be noticeable. Okay, you should stand out because of your consistent performance, and you should be known as a consistent performer, and you should have that track record. Okay, another very important part of consistency is having consistency in words and actions. A lot of people speak a lot of things in the interviews and stuff like that. One has to be really deeply evaluate whether there is a consistency in their words and actions. Okay, if you see gaps, that is a big alarm, a warning sign that the person may be actually not very honest or does not have very high integrity. So that integrity of words and action is very, very critical. Okay, so that's the third trait I would say is very critical. Next one is again a universal trait, and especially at senior levels in today's cutthroat competitive days, what we call very volatile days, and so on and so forth. So basically it is resilience. Okay, so earlier it was VUCA, now it is something else. So the times are very volatile. Okay, economy, geopolitical situations, organizations, the changes that are happening, disruptions that are coming. The most important part is resilient. One has to be very resilient at a personal level, okay? Which means you should be able to face obstacles. You should be positive. You may fail at times, doesn't matter. But the important part is, are you able to bounce back after you have failed? And how quickly you are able to bounce back, and get your demeanor back, get your energies back, and again start performing well. So that resilience and ability to bounce back from failure is very important as a trait, universal trait. At a leadership level, I would definitely, I have seen and I believe that emotional quotient and social quotient are very, very important for leaders. Okay. Emotional quotient is about self-awareness, is about ability to empathize with people as a leader, empathize with team and lead the team. Social quotient is all about creating very positive networks across the organization and beyond, so those networks in today's world are very important. It's a network world, as they say. Okay, so having very positive networks, positive influence, across the organization at a leadership level is very important. It's not just the position of authority that gives you the power to influence people. It is your social skills ultimately, social quotient that makes you more, powerful and influential. Okay. And the lastly, I would say, again at the senior level, the twin ability, twin. Okay. One should be able to hold a very larger view. Okay. 80,000 feet view, as they say. Okay. Of the organization, of the economy, of whatever you are doing, your function, etc. And at the same time, simultaneously, be very detailed oriented and should be able to focus on execution excellence. So, same time, holding two very contrasting skill sets, having a large picture, ability to see the large picture, and ability to execute flawlessly on the ground. At senior level, these two are very important traits. So these are some of the important traits, I think, of successful people as I have seen. Well, I would say both. Okay. But I would say the primary responsibility is on the individual. Okay. It's their life. It's your life. Okay. You have to take charge of your life. You can't be dependent on external support all the time. So what is important is individuals take responsibility for themselves. So that's very, very important. And for that, they have to develop many diverse coping mechanisms. Okay. You need to develop hobbies, you need to develop different interests, you need to really widen your horizon. Okay. To avoid this burnout. Okay. If you're single-mindedly focused only on one goal, okay, which is your own success, okay, and your promotions and your perks and your salaries and so on and material things, okay, at some point in time, you will face some failure and obstacle. And it will be difficult for that person to bounce back because they have not developed any ecosystem around them which will support them, to overcome this burnout. They have not developed relationships, they have not developed networks, mentorships, they have not developed senior, friends who can act as their mentors and coaches and advisors. So individual level, it's very important. Organizations do play a very important role here, and multiple roles organizations play. For example, many companies have this sabbatical policy, So many companies offer this sabbatical for 6 months or whatever time frame, okay, and say that go renew yourself, refresh yourself, go and do something else, follow some hobby, pursue some course that you wanted to do, and come back to organization all renewed and all, re-energized yourself, So I think that is very important. So some of these policies of sabbatical policies, or many organizations offer higher education opportunities. You want to go to Harvard or some other program, you want to go and do a 6 months program, we will support you, sponsor you, or partially sponsor you, or whatever it is, or give you leave for doing this. Okay. So that is very important. Many organizations offer that. And I have seen people who are on the verge of burnout, when they get a lifeline, I would call it a lifeline. When they get a lifeline, they use it very effectively and bounce back with much more stronger energy and focus and really become successful, and in turn make companies successful. Okay. So these are some of the renewal opportunities. Lastly, I think many organizations follow this, which is opportunities for internal movements. So people move from geography to geography, unit to unit, cross-functional movements, and that is a renewal opportunity. You are jaded, you are locked in a particular geography or a unit for a very long time, and you need renewal. When you are sent into a different environment, in a different country perhaps, or a different function or a different geography, okay, that's a great opportunity for renewal. And I think many companies do follow very consistently that no person is allowed to spend more than 4 to 5 years in a particular role. And the reason is exactly this. One of the reasons is this: to avoid this burnout and help people renew and utilize their skill sets and their energies in multiple ways. So these are some of the areas. Lastly, many organizations today offer coaching and counseling support, especially for people who are who have been consistent performers but now are facing problems, or those who have been selected for leadership roles or have the potential for leadership positions in the company. They are offered this mentorship, coaching and counseling support depending on what you need at that point in time, and that plays a very big role in helping a person renew and bounce back and become successful. So these are some of the thoughts and observations I have over a period of time.